This is James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Welcome to a more civilized podcast. This is the podcast you're looking for. You may not go about your business. Stay here, listen, and then move along.
Oh, my heavens. Oh, you listeners, I wish you could hear and be present for the silliness that is our pre-show. Every
Maybe
episode.
I'll put that one in the end, just for fun.
You should. We can't seem to be serious, which is great. That's why we're friends. As always, I'm Kyler.
I'm Chris.
I'm Ross.
Yep, still is. We checked after last episode. He is actually Ross.
Yep.
For now.
Yep.
Not a changeling.
So remember last episode how we talked about how the Force is generous and provides us with really great news stories right at the last minute? It's not always entirely true. We have two pieces of what are essentially fluff so that we had something to say, and then Chris literally at the last minute, like moments before we started recording, was like,
seriously,
I have something.
90 seconds ago.
Yeah. It was like, I found something. So Ross is going to go with the fluff, and then we'll let Chris read his actual piece of news.
Yes, so, the first item on our list is an interesting map that has shown up online. It's like a subway map. I don't know, what do you call these?
Yeah, like a subway map.
So what it is it's showing...
Not a map of Subway the sandwich store, which everybody should be familiar with. And
Right.
It's a counter.
This is a map that shows all the characters, the main characters of Star Wars, where they go and in relation to whom.
Yeah, but it's set out like a metro line, which is pretty cool. It's a really cool visual. We should...
I've seen those before, yeah.
Yeah, we should put out a link. I'll put out a link.
I don't know if he's the one that
yeah.
developed them, but the Randall Munroe from XKCD, he made a lot of those on XKCD. So I wonder if he's the one that did that.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But yeah, when this episode airs, I'll go ahead and post a link out there. But it's pretty cool to look at.
Yeah, cool. Next piece of exciting...
This one was me really
amazing
fishing
news.
for something.
Apparently, on November 4th, it was revealed the First Order has now several different colors of uniform. White, which we're all familiar with. Chrome, which is our lovely Captain Phasma sports. Yep. Red, which has been a new addition as far as visually seen.
Yeah, with Resistance as well,
Resistance,
that first episode.
Yeah. And now there's a gold-colored trooper.
Yeah, kind of like a bronzy
There's
gold
also
color.
the black patched executioners from...
Yeah, but those are
Last
still like
Jedi.
mostly the standard white uniform with them with like a couple different markings. And I'm not talking about like because the original Stormtroopers also had different pauldrons denoting rank, different colored pauldrons. But this is like full sets. The entire set of armor is a different color. So there it is.
Was there a gold uniformed officer in the series?
Just Snoke.
I was going to say just fabulous Snoke.
Because in the
Parading
Jedi
Elton
Knight
John's
series
closet
that we're going to talk about, there were several yellow-suited officers that you would see. And I'm just realizing that I don't believe we've ever seen them actually in Star Wars canon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So there you go.
But I was wondering if maybe that was the armored version of those guys. But okay, whatever. So there you go. That's the fluff news. Chris, take it away.
We also got a little bit of news. This is actually from a couple days ago. It is Industrial Light and Magic, which is, of course, the special effects arm of Lucasfilm.
Well,
they're their own thing, yeah, but they originated as the special effects arm of Lucasfilm. They are launching a new TV division, which this article is specifically mentioning. It's like, that shows that Disney and Lucasfilm are pretty committed to what they're doing with The Mandalorian, that they're launching an entire TV division, which particularly makes sense now a couple days later that we have the news that they're making a Cassian Andor TV series as well.
Yep.
You can see why they would be launching an entire division for the production of those, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. I'm looking forward to some Industrial Light and Magic.
Mm-hmm. As always. Ooh, with that, we are ready to begin our actual episode. So, as promised, a couple weeks ago, we heard from Ross. He gave us a very interesting history of LucasArts and talked a little bit about the gaming industry and different games, and Chris and I wouldn't shut up about the games.
Yep, we interrupted a lot.
Yep, sure did.
Speaking of witness.
Speaking of interrupting. So Chris and I, and Ross also, we decided, hey, what the heck, let's actually do an episode where we talk about just the game so we can be on topic with our interruptions about games. And then in deciding how we wanted to format this episode, because it's more fun if there's some structure, We are...
Well, I don't know. Our miscellany episode might disagree with you.
That's true. That was awesome. What a trip through the weeds that was. So we decided to do it this way. As we learned from Ross, there are several hundred titles of Star Wars movies, and we are going to tier every single one of them.
So buckle up, guys.
Yep. Get a drink, get some food, sit down for the long haul.
Just be prepared to pause a lot.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. There are way too many to talk about, especially in the time frame we shoot for and always overshoot.
Also, we haven't played the vast majority of those.
That's true.
Yeah.
So we narrowed it down. We kind of brainstormed some different games that we wanted to talk about. And then that was still too many, so we narrowed it down to 18 games to talk about.
And by 18, he means 18 categories.
Mostly games, some of which are multiple
sequels,
games, and
sequels that were
like
similar. And
yeah, so for instance, like the Battlefront and Battlefront 2, like those are we're going to kind of
whichever
talk about
instance
at the same time. Yeah. So we have 18 sort of game slots to talk about. And we are going to tier these. And what I mean by this is we have 3 tiers, tier 1, 2, and 3, because that's what makes the most sense. Tier 1 is the best. Like, these are the games that we're going, you know what, if you're a Star Wars fan, you really ought to be playing these games. They're terrific. They're well made, they're fun to play, good replayability. These are good games. Tier 2 is like, yeah, these games are solid. Not really necessary, though. Maybe they have some problems. They're still solid games, but they're not quite, up to the tier 1. And then tier 3 is these games got made, so that's good.
Yeah, that's a thing.
They're not really great. If you never ever play these, you're not missing out, really.
Since there's 6 slots in each tier, there could also be a few that it's like, well, it didn't quite make the tier above, so sadly it got bumped down.
And that's the thing also, between these 3 tiers, it's almost like we planned this, guys, having 3 tiers and 18 episodes so that it can be easily divisible by 3. We are limiting ourselves to 6 tier 1 games, 6 tier 2 games, 6 tier 3 games, because believe it or not, if I had my way, there would be like probably 8 or 9 tier 1 games, and then the rest would be like tier 3 with like maybe 2 tier 2 games. Yeah. So to force ourselves to give credit where maybe we don't want it then we're doing it that way. So there we go. That's the episode. We're going to go ahead and get into it. So the first game we are talking about is one that I am super glad is on the list. I was real happy. We wouldn't let it get deleted. Chris, why don't you go ahead and introduce this one?
So, this is a little game about tossing little birds with lightsabers and or blasters at Imperial pigs. It says Angry Birds Star Wars, and we can talk about the sequels as well if we like.
Sure.
A mobile game.
I didn't know they had sequels to
Angry Birds
did
make
Star
a sequel. Yeah,
okay.
It's interesting. I don't think it's quite as solid as the first game in most ways, but it's interesting.
I didn't play the second one. I was kind of out of Angry Birds by the time these were.
Yeah, that's fair. The second one you might like it actually, Kyler. It allows you to play as the Empire.
Hey!
There is a dark side path that you can play as the pigs, I guess. I never unlocked the dark side path because I didn't play very far into it, but it was an intriguing thing. You also have the opportunity to play as Jar Jar Binks, a Jar Jar Binks bird, which is less engaging, but he's not nearly as annoying.
I'm out. I'm back out.
You shoot him, and then you tap a spot on the screen to shoot his tongue out and grab that spot, and he swings off of it.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool.
It wasn't bad, yeah. But this is a game that took the Angry Birds formula and put a Star Wars skin on it, but I feel like it succeeded better than that sounds like it would. So my personal thoughts on this one.
The inclusion of having better secondary abilities or even more varied secondary abilities for all the birds was a good addition.
You had Luke with his lightsaber he would swing to cut through some stuff.
Obi-Wan would force push
stuff.
Yeah.
And,
I did like that, actually, about that. I played a little bit of because they had to buy it, but they had like some missions that were for free,
they had the unlockable. Yeah, everything's unlockable if you play it long enough, but I don't have that patience.
So I played a little bit of it, and I did think the secondary powers were pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but
you get Leia has a little tractor beam, and Han shoots some shots in a row, and Lando shoots a wide array of shots.
It's a fun game. It's obviously simple.
It's fun in just a kind of cutesy way. It's a lot. That's actually probably how my sons first got introduced to Star Wars, was playing Angry Birds Star Wars. That was one of the things that excited my son most about watching Empire Strikes Back. Is he's like, wait, we get to go. This is where they go to Cloud City? Yeah. I'm so excited. I know what happens in Cloud City. And I went, oh
do you? Yeah. So where would you put this, Chris? Tier 1, 2, or 3?
Personally, I'd put it in a tier 2. As much as fun as it is, it's not necessarily my kind of really high caliber tier 1 fun. I'm all about story, and it's got solid gameplay, it's cute, it's fun. If we had a larger tier 1, I might bump it up to the bottom of that. But as it is, I'd put it in 2 for now.
Fair enough. Ross?
This one got... So, for some reason, I apparently can't do math and somehow have 7 in my tier 1. I don't know what I've done. I don't see any repeats on my... Aha! No, I found it! There's the repeat! Aha! Okay, this is a tier 2 for me.
Okay.
So,
Ross found a repeat in tier 2, so it's getting
both
bumped
Kyler
down.
and Ross have already filled out their tiers, so they know where they put them. I'm just ad-libbing this, so I might inform you that my decisions have changed later.
Whatever. I have written them in pen on a napkin. They cannot be changed.
No, sorry, I'm keeping them on my phone so I can move them up and down at will.
I'm keeping track of them on a napkin. They can't be changed.
Napkins are forever.
Yeah, that's right. This is a legally binding contract napkin, Chris.
Yes.
I did tier 2 this one as well. So,
okay.
But definitely, if you've got a phone like you all do, you probably should have this on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I am a hater. I put it in tier 3. So, I like it. It's a solid game. But when I sit down to play games, I like complexity. I like more quality than a mobile game can deliver. More content than a mobile game can deliver.
I think you need to branch out in your mobile games if you sweat.
The problem is that mobile takes a very... it has a bad rap because it's so inundated with companies that are just cash grabbing.
Yeah,
it's
also primarily used for arcade-style games that aren't. They're not really built around ongoing player.
I am a proud member of the PC master race. I look down upon console peasants, and I don't even acknowledge mobile players.
Well, and again, that's the thing, is that it's understandable that you don't like mobile for that reason.
There
are lots of great experiences.
Now, here's the thing.
There's always going to be more, too. Like, internet traffic.
I know. Yes, I know. Mobile games and...
and I'm just saying, from an SEO perspective, right?
Yeah.
Couple months ago... a while ago, actually, a couple years ago, we passed the point where there's more internet traffic on mobile devices than there are from computers.
Yeah.
And we recently, a couple months ago, we passed the point where Google is officially ranking websites by their mobile version first and by their desktop version second.
That is the death of good gaming.
Yeah, this is a trend that's... No, it just means more good developers are going to make better games for mobile. That's... Blizzard is making a Diablo game for mobile, and however you feel about that announcement, it is a trend in that direction. Like, Blizzard makes quality stuff.
I hope it's good, but
I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. I feel like they just botched the marketing.
I mostly just don't like mobile games because I feel like, a mobile device is, by definition, the weakest computing processor. You know what I mean? It's definitely weaker than a console, which is definitely weaker than a PC. And so I'm going, if you're making a game for the mobile, you are, by default, dumbing that game down to meet this incredibly wide, limited standard.
Game fun is not determined by hardware.
Quality is not a hardware function. Yeah. There are games that ran on a 1,000th of the processing power of my phone that are still really quality games.
That being said, I wanted to put this in tier 2. Because I did have fun playing it, I really did, but there were other games that I thought should be in tier 2, and I just didn't have the room,
we'll
so
see
it's
where
tier
I
3.
End up, so, all right,
so there we go.
What's next?
Next is Jedi Knight Outcast and Jedi Knight Academy.
All right.
We lumped these two together because they're...
If you haven't listened to our earlier one, we gave some historical context for a lot of these.
Yeah.
But these are the third and fourth... We had Dark Forces, Jedi Knight, Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, and then Jedi Academy. So we lumped Outcast and Academy together because they are very similar game functionality and design-wise. And so they seem to play well together for ranking. Do you want to talk about them, Ross?
Well, I would say functionality, in every aspect, they are largely the same. Mm-hmm. The only difference is honestly between Outcast and Academy is that in Outcast, you play as Kyle Katarn. In Academy, you play as Kyle Katarn's apprentice. You get to choose his head.
You get to be a girl.
You get to choose his head, his gender, and his clothing.
Or her gender. Come on.
Right. And then you can also you're given sets of 5 missions for each kind of stage of the game, and you can do those 5 missions in any order. Then you're given a couple kind of story missions. Honestly, as far as technology goes, they're exactly the same.
Oh yeah.
Art
they
goes
added a
exactly
few
the
small
same.
features. Like I will say, I loved.
That's true.
I loved the ability to ride on a speeder bike with my lightsaber out
Yes.
to one side and just lop off heads as I went.
And the additional sabers were cool.
Yeah.
You added in having 2 lightsabers or 1 double-sided lightsaber.
Yeah, that was fun.
I remember going over to Ross's house in like junior high and stuff, and watching him play this game a ton, and then he'd let me play, and I had no idea what I was doing, and he'd be like, let me just help you.
This was the one we talked about last time that had the different lightsaber styles.
And I would run across that dang bridge playing multiplayer with you guys.
No, that's not this one.
Oh, is that a different one? Okay,
Yeah,
never
that's
mind.
the other one.
Yeah, that was the one before.
But I
this.
do remember
Yeah.
this. So I've not played this one. However, I do remember Ross playing it a ton and like watching him play it and seeing like, and for the day, like for when it was out, the graphics were incredible for its time. The lightsaber, well, they were pretty good. They impressed me. And they,
especially
you had
the step up they are from its predecessor.
Yes.
Like going from Jedi Knight
Yeah.
to Jedi Knight 2 is dang. So.
yeah.
It's a big jump.
So for me, not having played this, but recognizing kind of what it did for Star Wars games, that the technology looked better, the graphics looked better, the gameplay was better. I put it as a tier 2.
Cool. For me, this is a tier 1. Like, this was one of my favorites. And it's funny, we're lumping them together, so it's a tier 1 because of Jedi Outcast. Jedi Academy, I enjoyed. It had an okay story, I guess. I don't honestly remember the story. I remember thinking it was okay. Jedi Outcast, I have memorized, and as fun as being able to customize your own character can be, it can also leads to some difficulties with storytelling that I think Academy did not entirely overcome. But nevertheless, my love for Outcast and for just its array of abilities and weaponry and its storytelling and getting to fight Grey Delisle, frickin' Azula, as a Sith apprentice or a Dark Jedi apprentice. She voices,
yeah.
Yep, that's her.
Oh, man.
And just a lot of really fun stuff. And even like cameos from the original
Now I feel like I've missed out.
trilogy, which were well done. Like cameos can be really hard to pull off, and I feel like they used Luke and Lando both very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I put that as a tier 1 for me.
It's also the first place I ever saw the Lady Luck, Lando's ship. I
Oh,
didn't know what it
yeah.
looked like before that, but yeah. Yeah, this was, for me, was also a tier 1 right at the top. Because I also ranked the games in those tiers by how good they are. This is 100% top of the list for me. Must
Nice.
play. Whatever you're playing now, put it away. Get this game and play.
Yeah, this
Well,
was
there
good
you go.
times. It
Outcast
also
and
improved on
Academy.
the one before it by giving you a whole lot of lightsaber wielding enemies to fight in a whole lot of scenarios. Like it was solid stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. The next game is Shadows of the Empire, which we were talking about this just before. I thought it was just a book. Apparently it's a game.
It was a big...
I have read the book. I have not played the game.
In fact, I'm the opposite. I played the game, did not read the book.
I've done neither, so
You
I
did.
win both.
Neither did as much. Like, It was okay.
Yeah. So this is a game that takes place... it starts right after the Battle of Hoth. You play Dash Rendar. He's helping the rebels there at that battle, and you kind of go on this adventure from there, ending in Prince Shizor's palace. Which did Shadows of the Empire, did it bounce back and forth to Luke and that group, the main group, or was it mainly about them? That's right, the book was.
Yeah, the
wasn't
book's
it?
mainly about Luke
Yeah.
and Leia.
So yeah, the game is not, but you do kind of follow the same progression.
Yeah.
For shadowing them. Oh, throughout the Empire. Oh,
That's loose, but I'll allow it. It was for the N64, and it was one of those that everyone kind of had to have.
Yeah, that's why I didn't get to play it, is because I did not own an N64 until
Right.
about 18 months ago.
yeah.
I'm a little behind on the technology.
I
Chris, have
played
you heard about this thing called electricity?
Guess how much it cost me?
A lot.
$10.
I was
Whoa,
gonna say,
dude,
yeah, probably pretty
nice. High
cheap.
five.
Yeah, the second one I bought, when that one stopped working and I had to fiddle parts out of it to fix them. That one cost me $100, but it also came with a bunch of games that it should have cost way more than that. So,
Nice.
Yeah. So for me, this was a tier 2 game. And that's coming from the perspective of nowadays. It's no longer canon. It's you should play it at some point. But also know this was made for the N64, so some of the...
So be aware,
Yeah.
That's
you're
what
looking at
into.
GoldenEye style lyric,
Good stuff.
graphics and stuff.
Yeah.
I
You had a jetpack, that was fun. Kind of. It could be a little finicky.
So for the games for me that I haven't played, I kind of had to go, well, how much exposure did I have? Like,
how
not
much
playing
did I
this.
want to play this?
How much did I want to play it? Did I hear other people playing it or see other people playing it? I literally did not know Shadows of the Empire was a game until preparing for this episode. So for me, I had to put it in tier 3. Hadn't played it, hadn't heard anybody else playing it, didn't really,
Because I did hear so much about it and I so desperately wanted to play it, I am tentatively putting this in my tier 2, though it's quite possible it'll get knocked down by games that I've actually played.
It's now on the napkin, Chris. It's in the tier 2
I told
forever.
you I've got it on my phone. I don't care.
Shoot. Well, there we go. So, let's see. Force Commander. Oh,
yeah.
Force Commander. Ross, can we have like a nostalgic high five? There we go.
Yeah.
So this, if you remember from 2 weeks ago, talking about the game episode that Ross did, or was it 3 weeks ago at this point? I don't know. Some weeks ago, Ross's game episode. Boy, Ross and I, we played the crap out of Force Commander a lot. I didn't have a computer that would run it, didn't have the game, so I would have to go either to Ross's house or to our friend Braden's house. But yeah, I had a great time playing this game. Ross did a great job talking about just how groundbreaking it was, that you actually had the flying units that actually flew instead of just flew up to the thing and hovered and shot. You had individual units. One of the coolest things about this game, which now is like, it's so common, it's not even a thing, but I remember you could order your stormtroopers into the bunker and they would like garrison themselves in the bunker and be able to shoot out. But then the enemy could also send their troops into the bunker and they would have to fight it out, and whoever won, maintained control of the bunker. Like that, it was so dang cool. And then like when you'd call for, like you'd get so many points, resource points or whatever, and you'd call for reinforcements, and like Lambda shuttles would fly out of like the top of the screen, and land, and that you'd see them disembark, and then the shuttle would take off and fly. Like it was so dang cool. Oh my gosh, what a cool game.
They were doing a lot cool with that game. One thing I didn't mention in the last episode that was also interesting that you don't really see a lot since is that instead of actually going and gathering resources around the map, you got your resources by killing the other player's units.
Right.
Which is an interesting mechanic.
It does make it a little one-sided after a certain point, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then there were also times when if you just barely had enough units to fight off whatever wave you were fighting off, you wouldn't have enough to build up. And so depending on the mission,
it would basically just snowball.
Stalemate. But there were some times when you could just barely kill things off, but you didn't have enough to take out what they had left. They wouldn't attack you, so you're kind of in this weird stalemate.
Yeah, that's true sometimes.
So.
But I just remember there was this one cool snowy map, and like calling down the landing pad, because your buildings were also deposited by spaceships on the map. So like calling down this landing pad was just such a cool looking game. And then, as Ross mentioned as well in the game history episode, this is the first game to really actually get actual 3D instead of just cheating 3D. So for me,
the first real-time strategy.
For RTS,
real-time strategy 3D. Yeah, that's true. So I'm a huge fan. Like real-time strategy games, that is my number one favorite style of game to play. So for me, this is a tier 1. It was a great game to play. Tons of fun. It looked really amazing for its time. And then it was literally groundbreaking in its technology. So it earns a tier 1 solid for me.
Mine's right at the bottom of tier 1.
Mostly
because there are
better games. Yeah.
Well, even at the time the reviews were mixed. You'd find people like us that would love it, but there are also a lot of people that didn't like it. Yeah. So,
for me, I have not played this one, and so this one actually it goes right next to Shadows of the Empire, is one I haven't played, but it ends up just below that at the top of tier 3 because I'm not a big real-time strategy player. Like I've played them. Some have some solid story campaigns that I've enjoyed. Some I like playing with friends, but it's like, I get tired of real-time strategy pretty quick. It starts feeling very samey to me, and not many games have managed to combat that. And so, Force Commander, I'm betting would be top of tier 3 for me.
There we go.
Yeah.
Next is going to be the Old Republic / Star Wars Galaxies.
So I'll go ahead and introduce this real quick. So this is the game with which BioWare betrayed its fans. No, this game was part of a whole wave of game developers trying to get in on that sweet MMO money. And so they decided it's like, the massively multiplayer online role-playing game, the Memorpagers, to quote Yahtzee Croshaw, they make a lot of money. You got ongoing players constantly logging in, and it gets you a lot of money. World of Warcraft is of course the most well-known of these. And a lot of game developers, particularly developers who had ongoing titles that were very popular, thought, that's a good way to make money, and we've got a big enough IP that we could probably compete with that. And so I had all sorts of games like The Elder Scrolls, like Knights of the Old Republic, and others that went, our next one's going to be a Memorpager, and I went, oh, screw you.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings tried to do one out of nowhere at the same time.
Yeah, they're all over. Yeah. And we put Galaxy with this because Galaxies was the other attempt to
the previous one, if
earlier
I'm not
previous attempt to which I did play a little bit of Galaxy, and it was rough and bumpy. It was in the early days of it that I played that. Maybe it was really late.
Well, but it was also in the early days of MMOs. Period. Because it was like 2005 or 6.
For me, I know there's a lot of Old Republic fans who have played it quite a bit. More power to you. I am not a Memorpager fan. Like I have yet to find one. Like, people talk, oh, but the story is so great. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And people always turn to me, go and be like, no, look at these cutscenes. And I'm like, that's nice. Cutscenes aren't games.
Mm-hmm. Cutscenes are movies.
I am rather pretentious about like, I like cutscenes. If they're well used, I don't mind them. But if you're going to take control away from me to show me a small movie, that's not solid gameplay. That's not solid video game construction, in my opinion. And if I can get the majority of your story entirely from cutscenes, then you have failed at storytelling through video games form.
Oh, I want...
Yep.
Can we record that? Because we're going to talk about that in another episode.
What a coincidence. We did record that.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have you just repeat that verbatim for another game that we're going to talk about today.
I was going to bring it up there, too.
Oh, boy.
So for me, I have not played Old Republic. Because I had no interest, because I was very bothered when one of the sequel to one of my favorite games made by a developer that I really, really like was made a Memorpager, and I just went, no, I'm sorry, I have tried enough Memorpagers at this point to know I have no interest in this. So.
Mm-hmm. I did put this as tier 1. But that was because, but it's honestly because I had to put things in tier 2 and tier 3, so it got bumped up rather than down.
I would have bumped it down.
Yeah. Well, because see, the way that I was doing this...
So you're telling me you don't have a single tier 2 game that deserves to be in tier 1 more than that?
Well, he's actually played it. So.
In my opinion.
Wow.
Absolutely. Because see, the way that I had set these up is that, so tier 1 is drop everything and play it now. Tier 2 is play them at some point, and tier 3 is not required reading.
That was tier 3.
Yeah. There were only, 4 games that I would have put on the drop everything and play these, but we ended up, needing actual 6 for each category, so it had to go up. So, it was more the fault of we were trying to put too many in each tier than anything else. So,
okay.
Because it's the Old Republic MMO, Galaxies, and Force Commander aren't actually drop them and play now. But you should play them at some point.
Oh, man.
So having the Old Republic, it's a decent game. It's a solid game. But it's also a very clear WoW clone. It's honestly World of Warcraft in a Star Wars costume. It really, I can't say anything other than that. That's not necessarily a bad thing. World of Warcraft has been extremely successful.
It has been. I don't care for its storytelling attempts either.
Sure. But remember, these are games, not stories. So it should have good gameplay first.
You can have games that don't have story in them.
Right.
Like Minecraft is a good example.
Minecraft, or even Angry Birds Star Wars, is not it has the story on it, but I already know the story. The point of this is not the storytelling.
Right.
But if you're going to attach story to a video game, then it should be done well. I don't care if it's not the central goal. If it's not done well and it's part of it, then why did you do it?
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair critique.
That's a much bigger discussion that we're not going to have right now. Anyway.
Yeah.
So World of Warcraft is extremely popular and extremely successful, and it's a very solid game.
Yeah.
Copying that, it was probably the best idea for them. Well, I'm still second guessing myself.
Yeah. Well, but no, I would agree. It's hard to carve a chunk of that WoW audience away. Mm-hmm. That's part of one of the biggest things for any MMORPG that they try to make is just people already have a MMORPG, and not many people want to jump ship when they've invested so much time and energy into characters in that game. And I think Old Republic did as well as anyone could be expected to.
For sure. If you have not played any MMOs and you like Star Wars, play this one. Because it does iron out a lot of the things that WoW needed time to figure out. So they had the benefit of seeing the mistakes that WoW made and just not making them themselves. Again, it's a very solid game, and it was at the top of my tier 2, so you should play it at some point. But again, got shoved up to tier 1. So
there you go. I have it as a tier 2, just because I never played it. I did kind of want to play it, just because I'm like, I like the idea of an MMO. Love the idea of Star Wars. So you put those two together, it sounds like it should be good. But then by the time I got around to actually being in a position where I could get it, it had already basically died off. So I was like, well, okay. Yeah. So it's a game that I would like to have played. I think, kind of like Ross said, it did about as well as you could expect. I think it's probably a better game than some of the other games I have in Tier 3, but it's not a Tier 1 for sure.
It's still around, and I believe free to play up to some point currently. But the player base is very small.
So there we go.
That actually sounds ideal to me, because I don't want to. That's my other problem with MMORPGs is the biggest thing that spoils any good experience is other people.
Right. And, but when I say small, they've been combining servers. They still look populated, but there just aren't as many people playing.
Bummer.
There aren't as many servers hosting it. So
yeah, okay, that's fair.
Next, we have Lego Star Wars, just all of them, the whole shebang.
The whole shebang. We got Lego Star Wars 1, which was the prequels focused one. Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy.
They have a Lego Star Wars for every movie individually.
Yeah, no, they started with the trilogies.
Crazy.
Then they went individual movies. The most recent one that was The Force Awakens. And I'm sure eventually we'll have a Rogue One and a Last Jedi and a Solo.
Wait, so they did release The Force Awakens Lego?
Yeah, yep. My son has it as his...
I'm sorry. I mean Last Jedi. I'm thinking of Last Jedi.
No, Last Jedi they have. No.
I, last Christmas? I think it was last Christmas. Scored big time. Went to GameStop or something like that, on Black Friday, just as kind of like a last store to hit kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Just to see, because sometimes they'll have good games that are used for cheap, some of the older games that are hard to find or whatever. And they had the complete saga for Legos, which was at that time 1 to 6.
Yeah.
I got it for $10.
Nice.
For all 6 movies. My kids loved it. I don't particularly care for the Lego Star Wars games, so I have it as a tier 3.
Oh.
But I recognize that for younger kids and stuff, it's probably better than that, but yeah.
I've got this one as a tier 2 for me. Just Lego is for a company that started out building their famous little interlocking bricks, they are a surprisingly solid and consistent video game developer. Now, I would say
Lego's only a licensor. Actually,
really,
I think it's Take-Two Interactive that actually builds
Take-Two.
the games.
Yeah, you're right. It is Take-Two now that you mention it. So Take-Two has done well with
Lego. Knows well how to license.
Lego
their
knows
products.
who to license to, both for movies and for their games. But yeah, with their games, they did
and their products too. I mean,
their games get very samey after a while. As far as gameplay goes, it's the same thing over and over again. And they have been noted by a lot of critics for not really developing outward from that formula.
Yeah.
But
it works well for kids, though, who want to just do the same thing over and over again for their game for 7 hours.
And there's a lot of games that are well put together. It's a solid formula, at least, even if it does get samey. And as a dad, it's nice to have something like that to play with my boys, because there's always, I'm always looking for new games that I can sit down with them to play, and we've sunk some good time into Lego games.
They don't like Hitman?
I'm sure they would love it, but that's not happening for a while.
Oh.
So for me, that's a tier 2. Probably.
I don't like Resident Evil, Chris.
Probably just below Angry Birds for me.
See, this one actually
tier 1?
No, 2. Tier 2. That was tier 2.
And I tiered 3'd this.
Ooh.
Yep, you too.
I thought I was going to be the only hater on this immensely popular title.
No,
it's also Lego Star Wars. The Lego Star Wars games are the Lego games that launched the Lego game franchise.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Oh, there's that too, yeah.
This is actually had the opposite problem of the Old Republic, where it got bumped down instead of bumped up. This is more of a you should play it at some point thing for me. Yeah. And in fact, you can play it on mobile.
Yes, which is where I first tried it, and it was wonky.
Well, everything actiony on mobile is wonky.
Yeah.
But it was originally on the Xbox 360 and is now on.
And a note, if you pick up any of those original games, this was them first really refining their formula. They're a little less polished than the later ones, like as far as gameplay goes.
I have noticed that watching my kids play.
Yeah,
some of the earlier ones. Yeah,
I mean, as you do, you learn and you improve. So it's for sure.
Yep. Well, there we go. Yep. So that is that. Okay, next. Oh, KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, and 1 and 2 there.
Mm-hmm. So I'll start us out there.
Yeah, Chris, you played this more than I did.
I have not played this.
So I have played both the first and the second one. As I mentioned in our last episode, KOTOR 2 was developed by a different studio than it was not developed by BioWare, and it had some definite rushed through development issues, a lot of dropped storylines, a lot of problems. But this we'll see how it ends up shaking out. But this is probably my number one Star Wars game. Period.
Wow.
And this is actually one I was just thinking about you might like, because this is basically an action game with what basically amounts to real-time strategy controls.
Yeah.
I have to amend something. I have played this. You love this game so much. Okay, so you guys have to know this about Chris. He does not like spending much money for his games, like on Steam and stuff.
No. So I had a $3 rule on Steam for quite a long time.
Yeah. So Chris,
you don't anymore.
I don't buy things on Steam, lately. So
yeah. Chris actually loves this game enough and was convinced enough that I would love this game that he actually bought KOTOR for me on Steam years ago.
Yeah.
Probably 5-6 years ago, something like that. A long time ago. And I was like, cool. Chris was like, this is my favorite Star Wars game ever. And I was like, okay, cool. You know, Chris, I trust his tastes in games and things. He's steered me right before. So I downloaded it. I was all excited because I'm always down and excited for more Star Wars in my life. And started to play, and the combat drives me crazy.
Really? I can see
We're having to pause and then select what you want to do.
It took me some time to get used to.
It's basically turn-based combat.
Yeah. I couldn't get into it. I haven't finished playing it ever since first piece of combat. I stopped playing. So I feel kind of bad because I'm like, dang it, Chris bought this for me. You know, it's a gift that I'm like, oh, thanks for the gift.
It's all good, man.
Not my favorite.
It's all good. I know how that goes. So KOTOR is my number one because I'm all about story, and KOTOR knocked it out of the park.
And that's what I heard. Even though I never finished playing, I had heard bits and pieces of the story, and I'm like, dang, that sounds awesome. I wish I could get past the gameplay, but that sounds way cool.
And I will say that the game from the video game designy part of my mind that looks at things from a wholly video game oriented perspective, there are some significant flaws in the gameplay here, at least for what I would pursue as an ideal. But it was enough to get me through the solid story and have a good time doing it. So that worked well for me. I liked it's a role playing game. You get to role play a character. They play well with the limitations of designing your own character and that sort of thing really well, actually fantastically well. And you get a party of characters that you can enjoy playing with, and they knocked all of that story-wise and everything else out of the park for me. KOTOR 2 had some significant problems, but also added some things I really enjoyed, like sections where your party has to split up, which gives you the opportunity to play with far more of your characters than you normally would, because most of us really just grab one or two and do that. Mm-hmm. KOTOR is my number one Star Wars game, and I have replayed this game more than any other Star Wars game.
So tier 1.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's on the contract napkin, so it's there.
I also placed this tier 1, but the bottom of the must plays.
Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, no, that was.
Oh, okay. I also, even though I haven't really played it all that much because the gameplay drove me nuts, I still placed it in tier 1, because I for one knew that it was insanely popular. Like there was a while there that there wasn't really a person that I knew that was a Star Wars fan with access to a computer that wasn't playing this game.
Yeah.
Like, I was the odd one out that wasn't playing it. Just everybody. It was everywhere. It's still insanely popular on Steam. I see not ads for it, but like it frequently is on sale and stuff. Like, it's way crazy popular. And then it looks really good, especially for the time that it was released. Like, it looked really pretty. So I'm going, even though I personally didn't like this game, I recognize what an outstanding Star Wars game it is, so I have to put it in tier 1.
I also appreciate that this one stepped away from the normal setting so that it could, jumped back thousands of years so that it could do whatever it wanted.
Yeah, that's kind of what you need.
Yeah.
So
and
to make martial weapons that weren't laser based makes sense.
Yeah, sort of as much as anything in Star Wars makes sense.
Yeah.
What was the other thing I was going to say? I don't know. I love me some KOTOR.
All right, the next game is near and dear to my heart, especially because it brings back good fond memories of Ross and I as kids. Super Star Wars on the N64?
No, this is SNES.
SNES.
Super
there
Nintendo.
You go. See, I didn't have one, so I just remembered Ross had some sort of Nintendo something or other.
Yeah, this was a 2D
good.
platformer. It was just a solid 2D platformer. You started off as Luke. You would occasionally get to choose and play between either Han or Chewie going through your adventures.
I never ever made it that far.
Yeah.
I never made it out of Mos Eisley, ever.
Similar sort of thing. Games, especially in that day, they were very, very infrequently held to the plot lines of whatever their base thing was. Like the lava beast in the pit of the sandcrawler that you would fight as Luke was always interesting.
Because sandcrawlers come equipped with lava beasts.
Yeah.
Naturally.
I remember, though, like, the speeder level where it was kind of like Galaxy Defender, where you have oncoming opponents, targets, and then you're just going back and forth, left and right, shooting, trying to not let anything pass you.
You could actually turn around and everything in that.
That's true, but as far as, like, visually, like, it was always coming towards you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're blasting womp rats, and they looked like giant, overweight, green kangaroo rats with red eyes. That's what they look like. That was super fun, and then this whole sandcrawler mission was super, super fun to play. I would ride my bike as fast as I could up to Ross's house and play so much fun.
I mean, it was a very, very solid platformer. I mean, there was really, I can't think of anything to say against it, other than may have been a little bit technically young at the time for the game.
Yeah.
Because it gets a little what's called a bullet hell, which is with that genre of game is usually you have your little whatever your character may be, whether it be a ship or something else. It's usually some sort of airplane or spaceship. And you go up against other larger ships or other waves of enemies that just fill the screen with bullets, and you kind of have to figure out how to kind of plot your course, because any one of them is going to kill you in one hit. It got a little bit like that, where there were lots of lasers coming in at you, and you couldn't really do much against it other than just avoid. But
I found a list of like 150 Star Wars games ranked when we were preparing for this episode, when I was just going through trying to be like, let me make sure I've got everything on our list that I need to have. And I read his or her comments on Super Star Wars, because they had it ranked pretty low. And basically what they said it was, I know, a lot of you are going to be upset about this, but when was the last time you played this game, really? Like, I went back and played it last year, and it does not hold up as well as you think it does. And I was like, that's nice. Like, but then again, the fact that they're saying that means a ton of people are feeling that way, and you guys both liked it, so I'll go with your guys' opinion, and it goes in the bottom of my tier 2 because I haven't played it, and I'm not crazy about the bullet hells. But
well, that was usually only for boss fights.
Yeah, some of it, but even so, it's a 2D platformer that is loosely following a story that I already know, which I've got Angry Birds 2 and Lego Star Wars that are both following stories I already know in tier 2. So
I put it in tier 1. I had a great time playing it. I have very fond memories of this. I understand fully well that it would not hold up very well, just like Force Commander wouldn't either. Mm-hmm. But it was super fun to play in the day. It looked great in the day, and so I'm just going, it's a tier 1. Plus, a lot of these games I haven't played, so.
Well, with the games I haven't played, I'm basically going, how much do I want to play this? And it's a bottom of tier 2.
And see, I actually tier 2'd this as well for necessity of play. There are other things you need to play first. I mean, again, if you have time and want to go, see an old 16-bit, actually no, I think the Super Nintendo's 8-bit graphics style game.
It's pretty awesome.
I mean, then yeah, go back. It should be one to play. But there are other things to play first.
All right. Oh, this one is also fun. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer.
Alright, so yeah, this is a pod racing game.
I think this is the only racing game on our list.
Oh yeah. There are not many Star Wars racing games.
We checked.
Yeah, but this is actually a pretty solid racing game. Like, it's, as far as those go, and I'm not a huge racing game aficionado, so maybe there's some big racing gamers out there who are like, "Excuse me, sir,
there would be.
I take umbrage with what you say here." But for me, it was a lot of fun. Like, I enjoyed the races. I enjoyed piloting the pods. I enjoyed mixing and matching and upgrading my pod. It was good, clean fun for me. I put it at the top, probably at the top of tier 2. Might get bumped up. We'll see. My tier 2 is almost full now, though, so we'll see.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You have one more spot.
I know. I'm keeping track of these.
Legally, unchangeably, one more spot.
Uh-huh.
My only real experience with this game was actually a arcade console cabinet.
Oh, really?
That was an even better version of it, apparently, from what I've heard.
Well, so it was at a movie theater, so I only got to play it for a couple of minutes.
Oh, there's that. Yeah.
But it actually, instead of just standing in a cabinet and having a little joystick, this one they actually built out Anakin's pod.
Yeah.
And
that's way cool. You got in Anakin's pod and even had the 2-hand throttles for each engine, and you did control the pod that way, which was really awesome.
That's why Ross is such a bad driver now.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say this because I thought that I said it in our last episode, but no, that was just us talking. This had one of my favorite racing game moments from any racing game I've ever played. Oh yeah,
this is a good story.
Which there was a track on there where just before the finish line you had this tunnel that you went through that was like this 0G tunnel, which seems kind of pointless for a pod racer, but what that really means is there was like less friction on you, so you could get up to really huge speeds if you manage to avoid hitting the walls as you're turning. And, normally I'd be racing about 600-700 kilometers per hour or whatever, or miles per hour, or blurbers,
units per hour.
Yeah, units per hour, whatever
units
it said.
Per speed.
And I had one where something stupid happened, like I got interrupted playing, or I looked away at the wrong time, or it was something was dumb, and I crashed, and I had been in first place the whole time. This is the last lap, and I was just like, oh no, I'm not losing. What? That was so stupid. How did that happen? And so I'm flooring it through this race, and I get into that section, and I floored it up to like 1,100 units per time, and I had never piloted it that fast. I had never managed to, because every time I tried to see how fast I could get through there, I would crash and burn. And I did it perfectly on this. And that you come over this lip at the end, and the first place player came over this lip, rose up into the air off of this jump, and I was going so fast that I barely lifted up at all, shot right beneath them, and crossed the finish line like 2 seconds later. It was beautiful.
At which point Chris exclaimed, "Now this is pod racing!"
Exactly.
or so in other words, you could say your anger made you powerful.
Exactly.
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
Yes. It was a delightful moment, and I got some nice nostalgia for this one. So top of tier 2, maybe it'll get bumped up. We'll see what else gets in.
Well, there we go. But yeah. For me, I put this in tier 2. Not my favorite Star Wars game, but it is a solid game, and it was a ton of fun. I never owned this game. My cousins had it. So when we would go over to their house for, like, 4th of July barbecue or, like, New Year's Eve or whatever, anytime we were over there, I was always like, bust that sucker out. We are racing. And it was a ton of fun, and my cousins always were excited to have somebody to race against, because it was the oldest child of those cousins was a boy, and then it was a whole buttload of sisters. And so he was always excited to actually have somebody who wanted to play his Star Wars game with him, so we would race.
And someone to always beat because you weren't as good as him, I'm sure.
I was a lot older, so my, I was a little bit... I mean, it would always take me, like, a couple of rounds to get warmed up, and then after that I'd cream him every time. It was a ton of fun, though. Really, really fun game. Yeah. So, tier 2.
I tier 3'd this one.
Oh.
Yeah. I've never been a huge racing fan person. I mean, yeah, it was fine, but...
Yeah. Not your bucket of blueberries.
Yep, not required reading.
Well, there we go. Cool. Next is Republic Commando. Ross and I were talking about this before. I may actually have Ross's copy of this game.
Potentially, yeah.
I have a copy of Republic Commando. I'm pretty sure it came with an Xbox that I bought off like the street sometime. Ross had a copy, can't find his, thought he might have lent it to me. So I might have stolen for years and years Ross's copy.
I know where mine is. So you might have, if it was mine, you might have given it back to me at some point.
Ross knows where his is. It's at my house. No, I had this game. I played through most of it, mostly just because. I wasn't ever super thrilled with this game. I know a ton of other people were. Mm-hmm. I know other people loved this game, loved the 4 commando clones that you are. It takes place on Geonosis, or at least the part that I played anyway. You're like in the hives and stuff of the Geonosins.
I don't remember if it moves.
They modeled after like Halo. I think it was like Halo's engine that they put a Star Wars skin on. I could be wrong on that, but anyway, it was a good game, but not my favorite. I think I put it at the bottom of tier 2 for me. I could never really get into it, but I appreciate that it's a good shooter game.
Yeah. I tier 3'd it. I again also never really cared for shooters, but there was a lot good said about it. I mean, it even warrants mention in the visual dictionary that I got. Yeah. They have a picture of the commandos in there. So I mean, it did a lot of good things.
Well, and it also inspired one of the best Clone Wars TV show arcs.
Did it?
Landing at Point Rain. Yeah. Huh. Anyway, season 1 or 2 of Clone Wars, they have to go back and retake Geonosis after the first battle that we see in episode 2. Anyway, and the Landing at Point Rain is the first episode of that. But Ki-Adi-Mundi, the tall conehead Jedi, leads a group of clones through these tunnels, which is almost like a little small hive of Geonosins to sort of complete this trap or whatever that the Grand Army of the Republic is trying to make on this separatist position. And they're flamethrowers, and they're burning all these eggs and all these Geonosins that are in there and stuff, and that's straight out of Republic Commando. Huh. So, I mean, it was influential.
Yeah, and now what I remember from what you're explaining and what I remember of Republic Commando, they did a good job of the environment.
Yes.
Looked like they did in the game.
I just didn't have much fun playing it, so that's why it got bumped down to tier 2.
That's right. I was gonna tier 3 this, and then I got thinking about the metric that I arbitrarily introduced just a bit ago, which I actually really like. For the games I haven't played, how much do I want to play it based on descriptions and what I have seen of it? And for that, it goes just above Super Star Wars so far. And so it goes, that fills in my last tier 2 spot for now, which means probably
forever.
A couple are gonna get bumped down. So.
Nope, they're on the contractual napkin.
Yeah, I'm gonna laugh actually when I end up placing everything else in tier 1 or 3 because I'm like, oh no, that's clearly here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, okay, so next is Dark Forces, Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, Mysteries of the Sith, all 3 of those games.
Yeah, that's the 2 games and an expansion pack.
Yep.
So Dark Forces was, we talked about in 2 episodes ago in the LucasArts episode, as being the Doom clone that expanded upon what Doom could do. You could look up and down, you could jump up, all this sort of stuff. It was a fairly big deal at the time. It had some solid storytelling. And then Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 was the sequel wherein you got to do all of that but with a lightsaber too, which is of course an improvement in any scenario.
Yes, that's right.
We can do that but with a lightsaber. Sold.
Yep.
That is better right there.
Why are we not funding this?
Yes. Ron Burgundy but with a lightsaber. Ron Swanson but with a lightsaber. Pick anything.
Can I pay money for that?
Right
now.
Pick anything. Seriously. Iron Man but with a lightsaber. Sold. Thanos with a lightsaber. Give it. Yeah. Add lightsabers is always good.
Yeah.
Bob Ross with a lightsaber.
Oh, man.
Can you imagine? Oh, that'd be amazing.
We're just going to add some pretty little dismemberment over here.
Happy little arms.
Happy little
arms. It's okay. It's just a happy little accident.
Oh, cut his head off. That's
it's okay, look.
No
we'll
accidents.
just paint him a new mechanical arm. Look at that.
So good.
So these games were fairly ground, but these games are also responsible for a lot of, we talked about last time about a lot coming up with new Force abilities that eventually worked their way into top-level canon. And such as the prolific use of force jump, force pushes, force pulls, and a lot of other things that they did. And it also just really just cozies up in that nostalgic part of my heart. And because
I'm feeling like you're going to go tier 1.
Oh, yeah. Tier 1 on these. And it's funny because Dark Forces, I have scant memories of. I remember it being good. But that Jedi Knight 2, I love. Mysteries of the Sith, I only played once and wasn't that impressed with. But for that central number two game, these are... Gotcha. And working as a unit together, got some fond memories.
I'm going to be short and sweet on this one. Haven't played it. Don't really have a desire to play it. Don't know much about it. Tier 3.
It hurts me that you say you don't have a desire to play.
I know. I can see it on your face.
Honestly, I felt it in my heart.
Ross can see it coming, you guys. And I saw him there was like a silent whimper on his face.
Countenance darkened. Tier 1. This is my third ranked of all the games we're talking about today. The only reason why it lost out to another game that we're going to talk about in a minute is just strictly for it was early on in the first third person action games. And so there are some mechanics that are a little bit rough.
Really wonky, yeah.
But at very least, go watch the cutscenes on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. And just delightful to watch your little third-person Kyle Katarn sitting there jerking his lightsaber back and forth. Because they didn't really give it a full animation or anything, because that wasn't a thing then. But
you don't know which attack you used.
Yeah, that's fair.
See, the one
that's true. There were the bigger ones where he'd swipe out.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's a good point.
Anyway.
Yeah, and then it had. I also appreciate that it gave you your whole. It was the moral choice, choosing good or evil, and that when it did that, it did not base that. It wasn't a choice you made. It based that off of which force powers you chose to use throughout the game, and a couple other minor choices you made. And so it flowed more naturally than just, well, do you want to be good now or bad?
I'm changing my mind. I'm putting it in tier 2.
Sweet.
Good.
No. You have it on your contractual list, Kyler.
The list is not contractual. The napkin, however, is. All right. Switched. It's tier 2. You've convinced me. Ross,
well,
do you
I'll
feel
take
better?
that.
Only moderately.
We're going to have to hug after. We'll make it up.
This will only be forgiven if you play it.
That's never going to happen.
and I'll even go as far as to say you don't have to play the original Dark Forces. Play Dark Forces 2, and that's all you
Okay. Need. Yeah. So here we go. The next one is X-Wing / TIE Fighter / X-Wing versus TIE Fighter / X-Wing Alliance.
TIE Fighter versus X-Wing, actually.
Oh, whatever. There
was another one that was X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
All of the flying shooter games.
Yeah, these are games where you actually sat in the cockpit in the first game of an X-Wing. Second game, you got to expand that and play as the baddies in the TIE Fighters. And third game dropped all the single player, made you play multiplayer all the time, for which, if it was alone, would get it dropped significantly on my list. And then the fourth game brought back a lot of the functionality of the earlier games and improved upon them. These, I have not played a whole ton of. I remember enjoying what I did play. It's been a long time. These were some of those games I borrowed from my uncle and then played once and then returned, and they got discarded into oblivion by my aunt years later. Sad. But I am still tier 1ing them because they were there was a period in my life where I remember talking about, there it is.
Yeah.
And there it is, being Ross was correct about the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. But I remember bringing up playing Star Wars games and having a whole ton of my friends just be like, oh, you mean like the X-Wing games? And I'd be like, wait, what? No, I'm talking about more recent games. And they'd be like, oh, no, you got to play those. And which is why I went and got them, and they were solid stuff. So they're at the very bottom of my tier 1 because I have not played them as extensively. But I do delight in... There's not a lot of vehicle games these days where you get to play from the cockpit of a vehicle.
True.
Of some
it's usually
sort.
third person.
Yeah.
And I like the immersion of that, and these were really solidly done in a lot of ways. So they are my tier... They are bottom of my tier 1.
Oddly enough, I thought I would rate these higher than you. I actually put these in tier 2.
Ooh.
So, again, yeah, solid games, but you can get a similar experience with other newer games. And so they're not really must-plays anymore. Yeah.
So I put them in... Okay, so they were in tier 2. They just got swapped into tier 3. This is the game that I knew I would swap if I was going to drop one out of tier 2. It would be this one. I remember playing these, one of these games. I honestly couldn't tell you which of these.
Yeah,
which
they're
four.
hard to tell the difference between them.
Yeah. So the cousin that had racers was on my mom's side. On my dad's side, I had different cousins that had one of these games. I don't know which one it was. I just knew it was the Star Wars game that they had. And so I only got to play it like twice. So we didn't go up there very often. And it was fun when I played, but I also wasn't like heartbroken not having it and not getting to play it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I would also add that I have read stuff about these historically were pretty influential when it comes to flying shooty combat type games. And it really influenced a lot of what was done in the other games of a similar style.
These and Wing Commander, yeah.
Yeah, Wing Commander was
the other one. I did mostly the multiplayer on these, me and Braden. Braden, for how many times we've mentioned him, we need to get him on.
Listen to this dang show, man.
But yeah, we would usually, because you could do a local multiplayer, and so you fly against the larger capital ships. And so I'd get in my X-Wing, and he'd get in whatever he wanted, and we'd just, take down Star Destroyers and stuff like that. So
good times.
It was a lot of fun.
Well, there we go. Next, this is a fun one. Force Unleashed and FU2.
I love that acronym.
Woo! Force Unleashed.
Oh, what a fun game! Holy cow! Not canon now, and I'm glad of it because I wasn't like
barely
super thrilled.
Canon,
it was pretty janky, but super fun gameplay. Oh my goodness, the gameplay was so much fun. Getting to force lightning stormtroopers by the dozen.
Oh, and not just force lightning, but the way that you felt the force lightning.
Yeah.
Everything Starkiller did, or should I say Darth Icky did,
yeah.
You felt it when he did it. What, does it feel icky?
Yes. so icky.
But yeah, everything he did just carried a weight that so many games don't really manage to establish.
Oh man, it really did. You felt his anger and,
well, and you could feel, he throws lightning,
slam,
and once you get that up into high levels, it's throwing people around the
room. It's so cool. And you're watching them writhe and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, man, so cool.
Did you ever pick up stormtroopers?
Oh,
of course.
Yeah.
Well, and just like listen to them just like scream?
No. Okay, I might be on some FBI watch list for this going forward. I would, when you get into the Death Star and it's doing its periodic firing, I'd grab stormtroopers and hold them out in there, and then the Death Star would do it, and it would just disintegrate them. It would turn them into black ash, and just they're gone.
Wow!
It was awesome. It was so cool. So I'd lightsaber or lightning all but one until one was left. That way I wouldn't get shot, and I could enjoy the murder, and then hold him out there, and
man,
good times.
I took no greater delight in anything but just crumpling up ATSTs
that
with
was so
the Force
cool.
and then throwing them around.
Such a cool, and then again, the customization was nice, where you could customize your armor and your lightsaber color and the hilt and stuff. Really, really fun. So much fun.
Well, see, but there are also two awesome bits of tech that they kind of introduced to the industry with that game.
Ooh, do tell.
The first was a more advanced AI. I don't remember what they called it. They had a name for it.
The AI was actually surprisingly good.
Well, but it was it was for things when, when you picked up stormtroopers, if they were near another stormtrooper or another surface, they'd grab onto it.
Yeah.
And then you had to pull them away.
Yeah.
And then also they changed destructible environments depending on the material. So if you threw someone into glass, it broke like glass instead of an animator having to break it apart and animate it himself. Or I remember they at the time showed demos of wood, throwing something through wood. It would
that's true.
Wood.
I remember. I didn't even think about that while playing. I guess just because it felt natural that it does break like that. But now that you bring it up, it did.
Yeah, they
really cool.
Wrote those programs themselves.
Yep, that was a fun game.
So,
yes,
I never played the second one.
Me neither.
The Havoc system.
I honestly, I never even finished the first one. I was playing it on. I think I was playing this on my sister's boyfriend's Xbox that he had over at our house. And then he had to take that home.
I have it on the Wii.
Oh, yeah.
That was
that's right, I remember that.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but it was super fun. I still played through 3-4 times, something like that. And I would never start it on a higher difficulty. I'd just go and restart at the beginning. So I had all my force powers and just waltzed through those first few missions, just being lightning everywhere. It was great. Good times. Tier 1 all the way. Where are you going, Chris?
I do tier 1 this. On the one hand, story-wise, this was not particularly impressive for me. It was pretty predictable. and not that original, especially when it came to Star Wars stories that I had read.
True.
And so, which is why it's all the more impressive that I'm still tier 1ing this, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because, and the, like, story perspective looking at the gameplay, it's like, Starkiller was so ludicrously powerful. Like, he makes the Skywalkers look like children. Like, it's nothing. It's so ludicrous, but that's the fun of it. It is over the top, just... It's
Star Wars carnage
everything
with a
you've
lightsaber.
ever daydreamed. Maybe I could do that with the Force, and just unleashed.
Yep.
It's
it was
aptly
awesome.
named, and just for sheer delight and destructive mayhem alone, I tier 1 that. Yeah.
Okay, Ross, where are you at?
I tier 2'd it, actually.
That's fine.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I guess we're even now. For me not tier 1ing whatever it was you want.
Sure.
All right. Next is Battlefront and Battlefront 2, the new editions, the new versions.
Right.
Ugh, yeah. So, Chris, do you want to repeat what you said earlier?
Yes, sir. If I can get basically all of your story through your cutscenes, then you have failed at integrating story into gameplay.
Now for a quick story. When Battlefront came out, I was gonna do I just remembered something I was going to do, and then I didn't do it. And this would be the time for me to talk about it, but we didn't. Oh well. Another time. Save it for another miscellaneous episode. Sorry, randomly. When Battlefront 2 came out, there was a predictable backlash against EA from the fans. People were not happy. I was wary of getting the new Battlefront 2 because Battlefront 1 sucked so completely from EA. And I thought the only possible way that I will ever get this game is for the story, so that I can be aware of the Star Wars canon, because that's important to me. Other than that, I am so still ticked at EA that I don't want to get this game. After it had been out for 3 days, I thought, I bet, because I was seriously tempted to buy the game, and I'm like, but I desperately don't want to give EA not even 1 penny.
Yeah.
So but I want to know the story, and then I thought, wait a minute. I live in an age where the internet is a thing. I bet somebody already has taken the cutscenes from the mission and put them online.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So I looked and literally, I just did Battlefront 2, all cutscenes. And sure enough, there was an hour-plus long video on YouTube that somebody had put up 2 days ago. They literally did it the first day. And I'm like, sweet, I will watch this. And I was particularly excited and tempted because EA said, come play as the Empire. Mm-hmm. This is the story. You get to be this Imperial Inferno squad. You're the best of the best of the best of the best, and come play as the Empire. This is something you've never done before. Come be the baddies. It's going to be great. Come join the dark side, kind of a thing. And I'm thinking, I would love that because I love the Empire, and nobody gives the Empire any love. It's always, come and fight against the Empire. Be the good guys. I would love a good bad guy story. Anyway. So I'm like, okay, let's see, and if your story is good in this YouTube video, I will totally go ahead and get your game. I will give you money if you have given me what you have promised.
Yep.
And the first mission is awesome. It's the middle of the Battle of Endor. You're hunting down rebels, trying to stop them from destroying the shield generator because your Emperor's life depends on it. And then in the sky, the Death Star explodes. And I'm like, sweet, I am down for this. We're going to be out for blood and revenge on these dang rebels. This is going to be awesome. And the second mission, you're like, okay, we got to regroup. We're going to retaliate against these rebels. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on board. This is great. Oh, sorry, no, the first mission is you intercepting transmissions on a Mon Cal cruiser that has figured out that Endor's a trap. And so you're getting those transmissions, deleting them off the Mon Cal cruiser and escaping.
Yeah.
So that they can't warn the rebel fleet. And then the second mission is you on Endor. The third mission is you going to, it's just a really easy, defend the capture point, basically. You've got a Star Destroyer that's docked while it's loading stuff for Operation Cinder, which is the Emperor's, very much like Hitler's plan, is after I'm dead, just burn everything to the ground.
Yeah.
And so they're loading stuff onto this Star Destroyer for Operation Cinder. The Rebel fleet shows up. You've got to destroy all the bombers and the ships or whatever so that this Star Destroyer can get away. Okay, cool. I'm super down with this story. The very next mission is you on your home planet where Operation Cinder is taking place. And all of a sudden you go from the most dedicated, hardcore, die-hard Imperial soldier to, nope, peace out, suckers, I'm fighting for the rebels. and the next 20 missions are you playing as a defector. And I'm going, well, this isn't the campaign you promised. You said I get to play as the Empire. I get to play 3 missions as the Empire, and now I've gone Rebel. This is exactly like every other Star Wars game, and I'm so ticked. Oh, it made me so mad. EA, You suck. But so I put it in tier 2 because it is gorgeous. Tons of people are playing it. They have improved a lot of stuff. They've got Clone Wars stuff in there now, but I refuse to give it tier 1. I just can't. I want to give it tier 3, but there's honestly nothing that deserves to be higher up. So
I honestly can't believe this. Honestly, I really can't. I put this as tier 3.
If I had 7 spots in tier 3, I would put it there.
Wow. With your hate and vitriol over this game, over a terrible story, and I'm the gameplay person, and I'm still putting it worse than you.
Well, but part of it, though, also is Battlefront 1 is included in here, which has terrible gameplay, which is not... It was so boring and repetitive. I played for about an hour, about 60 minutes for Battlefront 1, for EA's Battlefront 1, and I was like, cool, I have now done everything this game has to offer, and there's not really a reason to continue playing.
So the replayability was terrible. Gameplay itself would be fine. Again,
I still found the gameplay very
hold on. Because remember, this is tailored to the Call of Duty 12-year-old game.
I don't.
So
it's still bad.
For that group, it's very solid. The gunplay...
For the group that doesn't know any better and has terrible taste in games...
Stop talking, and let me give you an analysis. For the gunplay, you actually being able to move around a map and shoot people, and the throwing a grenade and shooting a gun feels good. All of that is actually solid in a well-built
but
game.
You can't customize your character at all. The grind was ridiculous, even in 1, and it got 1,000 times worse in 2.
Those things aren't important for this style of game. It's important for you, personally, but not for this style of game.
And yet it was important enough for this style of game that EA got enough backlash over how they were doing things that they backtracked and changed their plans going forward for number 2. Because apparently it was that important for this style of game and that game group.
See, even if it's designed well for them, for me that's like saying, well, yeah, J.J. Abrams' new Star Trek reboot was basically Star Wars. He just wanted to make some Star Wars. But you know what? For a mass audience, that's better. Mm-hmm. That's an improvement for most people. So, yeah, just because most Star Trek fans are watching that going, this isn't even Star Trek. What are you doing to my beloved franchise? Well, tough luck for you. It's well designed for the people who matter most. Not you. The people who have been spending money on this for ages and who love this and adore this and who are the ones who actually want more of this. We want that.
See,
it's a massive betrayal of fans for me.
Well, only because they limit the number of games that they're putting out every year. Right? Maybe. They're giving it to EA, and EA is only monetizing the certain style of gamer.
Yeah.
So again, remember, not every game is built for every person.
Yeah, but just because... See, and that would be fine for me, too, if this was just some Star Wars game that we've designed for those people. It was a new Battlefront game.
Yes. And they specifically said, hey, do you remember from 10 years ago when you loved that game and it was awesome? We're going to give you that, only it'll be better. And then what they gave us was that, and it looked better, but it played
so
way
I can
crappier
appreciate
and worse.
It that they probably achieved what their actual goals were to a large degree.
Right.
But for me, for my tiers especially, that does not make any difference because that's not what I wanted. I wanted a Battlefront game, and what I got was a Call of Duty third-person shooter, in a Star Wars costume.
Yes.
And I'm not a graphics person. I don't care how pretty it was. I played it and I was like, oh, this is pretty. And I was able to enjoy that for about 10 seconds before I got knocked out of here by the lame, repetitive, dull gameplay. And by my being bothered by the sheer amount of features or aspects of the old games that are not present. That have been taken down, nerfed. It's not only that this gameplay is dull and repetitive. I can do that. I've picked up plenty of dull and repetitive games and been like, oh, I see. This is just another Call of Duty clone. Oh well, not my
Angry
thing.
Birds, for example, repetitive.
But I picked up this one thinking I was getting a new Battlefront game and got and didn't have any of the, it's like,
And you
you
got
have
Call of
reduced
Duty.
functionality.
Right.
What is this?
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it had the additional problem for me. This is a very easy tier 3 for me. It had the additional problem for me, which is technically not on EA, but
I can't believe I
still
tiered
place
this
on
the
them.
highest out of you.
I know. That's
That
why I
is
said I
sorry.
couldn't believe this.
But
Looking for anything that
that
can be
I was
swapped
playing on the
out.
PlayStation, and I did not have a PlayStation Network pass, and so I could not play online. And there is a massive amount of gameplay in this. Most of the maps in the first
Yes.
Battlefront, most of the characters,
Yes.
tons and tons and tons of stuff that you cannot even access without going
Oh,
online.
and that's the other thing too that I brought up during the history of the game episode. I don't get to choose which side I'm on. I don't want to play as rebels. I don't want to. I want to play as the Empire, and you don't let me choose. You sons of...
Plus, we mentioned before when we were talking about this before this episode, I can no longer play split screen to just play with friends, which was one of the best things about Battlefront for me.
That's
was
not unique
awesome.
to Battlefront, though. That's
No, that's not.
No, but it's still a problem.
That is a complaint I can level at the majority of the AAA industry. But nevertheless, we used to have it in this game. Now we do not. And that was one of the best aspects of it. And it's just really it's just, hey, we want to force your friends to shell out money for this too so we can make more money. So we're not even going to give you the option of playing together. Even though that's most of the appeal of multiplayer games is playing together.
Yeah.
That's also another discussion we could have. Again, it's not Star Wars.
However,
the last thing I do want to say on this is that these comments you're giving me are basically the basis of the don't pre-order arguments.
Oh yeah, I don't.
Right? Especially a company like EA, what they tell you and what you get will never be the same.
Yep.
So that's why you don't pre-order, and honestly, don't get your hopes up.
I flat out don't buy things from EA. I didn't even buy this game.
Yeah.
I played some.
I have not bought number 2. I own number 1, but that's because a friend of mine won a code, like a redeemable code for the PC, and he's like, I have this on the Xbox, I've got this PC code, I know you have a PC, here, have this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't own that one either.
But yeah, for me, that's an easy tier 3.
Yep.
Yeah, I want it to be tier 3, I just don't have room.
Which means that there's at least 6 games that Kyler disliked more than this one.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Weird,
right?
Yeah. Ugh. Let's see. Ooh, Rogue Squadron. I don't know how this differs from the other flying movies.
Okay,
I don't know this one at all.
Let me lay that out then. Rogue Squadron is basically a slightly more arcadey version of the X-Wing games.
Mm-hmm.
You play from a third-person perspective, flying an X-Wing. You play as Luke for all of the levels except for the last one where you play as Wedge, because it takes place after the original trilogy and Luke's off being an important Jedi. And yeah, it was fun games. You got to fly around Corellia. They were all land-based, like above the planet, not in space. But there was some fun gameplay. You got to play as a snowspeeder trying to wrap up AT-ATs, and it was some wonky.
Which, let's be honest, you've done in a dozen games by that point.
I hadn't when I played it, so that was the first time I ever got to do that. And personally, and then there were sequels which improved upon the gameplay and or didn't. Like the third Rogue Squadron game was the first one to be like, hey, we're going to add the functionality where you can land and get out of your ship to go shoot things. Basically what Battlefront later did to a far better degree, and but not pulled off well. Like it didn't work too well. For me, despite a lot of nostalgia and really liking these and everything, it's a tier 2 for me. So I'm gonna have to bump.
So
something
contractually,
else.
it's a tier 3 because tier 2 is
I
full
didn't
according
say
to the
that.
napkin.
Yeah.
Well, he decides what to bump off. It was also a tier 2 for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
For me, I haven't played this game. Don't know it. Didn't hear about it. Couldn't tell you how it's different from X-Wing or TIE Fighter or X-Wing versus TIE Fighter or X-Wing Alliance. So, tier 3 for me. I don't know. Chris, what's getting knocked out?
Probably bumping Super Star Wars down. We'll see though. I might not get any more tier 1s after this. I don't remember what's left. So, wait, no, never mind. I know I've got at least one tier 1 left. So yes, bumping Super Star Wars down.
Okay, wonderful.
I'm keeping track of these. You don't have to.
I know. I've done the napkin bit this far, Chris. Let me have it. Okay, next is my favorite game, bar none, on this list.
The reason that I realized, oh wait, nope, I have one more tier 1. So
yeah. This is Empire at War, LucasArts Empire at War, and its expansion, Forces of Corruption. Oh my gosh, I love this game. I play this game. I've played this game this week, and it came out in 2006, so it's 12 years old. I played this game this week. Mm-hmm. It is so fetching good. It's a real-time strategy, and does real-time strategy on the Star Wars Galactic scale about as well as you could expect a game to do. Yeah. You have a galactic map filled with all the planets. You know, you have different scenarios. You can do like Galactic Conquest, which is all the planets. It's like 130 something planets or whatever. You can do like just the core, which has like 20 planets. You can do the Outer Rim, which has like 20, and they're all in a big ring. Yeah. And you play as the Empire or the Rebellion, or if you have the expansion, the Zon Consortium, which is big pirates. And your planets are producing income. You build different buildings on the planets, which give you different tech upgrades, so you can build different things. The best part, though, is the actual battles. So after you've built up your fleet or your army, you go and attack a planet, and you actually get to see your ships warp in out of hyperspace and launch their fighters, and it is so cool and just gorgeous. Like 2006, Kyler just about wet himself with joy every time he played this game because it was so pretty. Now, of course, it looks a little bit dated. It's a little bit blocky. I've downloaded some. It's got a great mod community on Steam right now. There's a fantastic mod for it called Republic at War, which is, as you might imagine, the Clone Wars. You've played the Republic versus the Separatists. There's a bunch more planets, tons of Jedi. It's super fun to play. This game, like I said, it came out in 2006, in early 2006, and then its expansion came out in late 2006. And I still have a ton of fun playing this game, and I have played it regularly since I bought it in end of 2007. I think I got it for Christmas 2007, and I have played it regularly since. I don't think it's ever been uninstalled on my computer since. It's a great game. I can't say enough good about it. I have one complaint. Well, two complaints. And the first one isn't even much of a complaint just because it was a limitation of technology. You had a really low unit limit, right. A unit cap for the battles, usually only 50, which meant you could bring in like 2 Star Destroyers and like a couple of support ships, and that was it.
25 per side? Or is it 50 per side?
No, 50 per side. Okay. So you had really small battles, but again, the mod community on Steam has drastically upped that. Yeah. I don't think I've ever hit my limit at this point. I think it's like 500, which basically means you can bring all of the Star Destroyers, just all of them, every one of them. You've got the Super Star Destroyer in there as well, which I love bringing in because the thing takes up like the whole dang map. It's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, and it's such a cool game. It is so cool to warp in that Super Star Destroyer and just see its dagger just like slice across the screen and take up everything. Turbo lasers firing. Oh my gosh, I love this game. The only downside is that when you do play the bigger maps that have like 100 plus planets, is the battles do get repetitive. Because there's not a lot of variety in like terrain in the space. They'll have like, asteroids are over here instead of over there, but it's really kind of the same. So that's the only downside. But I tell you, when you have the Death Star and the Super Star Destroyer and a buttload of Star Destroyers in the same fleet, and you warp them all in, and you've got just more Star Destroyers than you know what to do with, and they're all firing on the Rebels. Oh my goodness. I need a cigarette. That's fantastic. So good. Yeah. So good.
So tier 2?
Yeah, tier 2. Solid tier 2. No, this is the top of my tier 1. When I looked at the list of games we had to choose from, I was like, okay, where's Empire at War? Okay, there it is. Yep. That's my number 1 game before everything else. I love this game. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. For real, I'm done.
I also tier 1, although it's second place underneath Jedi Outcast.
Okay, that's fair for you. Yeah. You know. But we'd play this game. I'd play this game all the time with Ross years ago. We don't play it as much together.
We need to again.
We do need to again. We play. Ross and I still play a lot of other games together. We just haven't played this particular one together in a while. A couple years ago, we did get Chris on board with finally buying this so that we could have a 3-way between the Empire, the Rebels, and the Consortium. And Chris told this story, I think, during the game episode. Yeah, he waited for Ross and I to beat each other down, and then he came in, and there wasn't anything either of us could do to stop him. Yeah. It was so bad.
We learned that day.
Not to
which is
mention
why we've never played it again because they've learned my one trick.
Yep. Not to mention the consortium has OP out the wazoo ships anyway. Oh, and then it brought Empire at War brought my two most hated rebel ships to existence. The MC-30 and the Assault Frigate Mark II.
Yep.
Those two ships can burn in a fiery hell. Oh, I hate those ships so bad. So OP. And Ross cheese spams them all the time at me. It's ridiculous.
He's remembering that wrong.
I am not.
He's traumatized.
That's why I'm remembering it correctly, Ross.
Nope. I was always more partial.
Believe all Kylers.
Where's that for you, Ross?
Tier 1. But just to defend myself, I was always more partial to the Calamari cruisers. You just had to have enough of the other two to support. So
yeah, but like I said, he cheese spams me with MC-30s and then brings in his Liberties.
He would say that if I brought in one of the other two.
One
ships.
is too many.
Yep. See?
But no, Ross would. I have like 15 of them.
No.
Oh, they're terrible. Okay. And Chris, where was it for you?
Empire at War is for me what KOTOR is for you, man. It's one that I just never really got into. I tried to get through the single player and was just never. It's real-time strategy, and I'm not huge on real-time strategy.
See, and that
I
is
played
my
it and
jam.
could appreciate the quality there, which is why it's tier 2 and not tier 3. But man, just not my.
So it is tier 2.
Not my bucket. Yeah, it is tier 2.
So we're kicking something else out of tier 2.
Yeah, we came. The bottom of my list was Republic Commando, so that got bumped down into tier 3 as well.
Gotcha.
And Empire at War went on the list between Angry Birds 2 and the Lego Star Wars games for me.
Gotcha.
But like solid gameplay. Like I don't disagree with anything you're saying. Just not my cup of tea. And I tried, but I just could not get into it. So
okay,
it has collected a lot of dust on my shelf since.
Oh, that's so sad. Okay, you mean collected a lot of dust in your Steam library?
Nope, no, and I actually own a physical
really?
copy of that.
Nice.
Maybe the very last PC game I bought a physical copy of.
There you go.
I got the gold edition for like $15.
Yeah, they had it. For like $10 or $15 at Walmart. Yep. Oh, so I'm an idiot. I'm going to share a fun story real quick. So I lived in Italy for a couple of years, and when I got home is when I bought this game. I didn't realize that in the time I was gone, computers went from having CD drives to DVD drives in general. No. So I was super excited. I bought this game, didn't realize that the game was a DVD.
Yeah.
Took it home. Why won't this thing read? It won't read. Took it back and they, to get an exchange, and they were like, what's wrong with it? I'm like, I don't know. My computer just won't read it. It's not scratched or anything, but I don't know. Okay, we'll go get another one. Exchange it. Take it home. Same problem. I'm like, what the fetch? Oh.
Then you see the box.
Then I see the DVD.
Yeah.
You did the same thing, actually.
Yeah, so, then, anyway. So that was me being dumb. So, okay,
no, actually, honestly, no, that's not you being dumb. That's because that was never announced. Yeah. You just had to see the thing on the box or happened to have a DVD drive.
Yeah.
But.
Which, shortly after that, we got one because I...
Well, and I did not buy many new games, as I played what my uncle had, and that was one of the rare things. It was the first one I bought after that change had been made, and I had never encountered that because all the games I played were older games, and so.
Yep. Next on the list is our second to last one. Oh, this is so terrible.
Speaking of second to last.
Speaking of second to last, exactly.
Our token game to hate. So.
Star Wars Battlegrounds. This game, what a piece of crap.
Now, in our Lucas
Galactic Battlegrounds, excuse me. Yeah,
Galactic Battlegrounds. This is the one that Kylo talked about at length in our LucasArts episode. Yeah. That was essentially just a substandard reskin of Age of Empires 2.
Yep. Yeah.
And I actually looked up the game after we discussed it and realized that I did play that one. And it was crap. I looked it up and was like, wait a minute, this looks familiar. Scrolled through a few screenshots and went, I did play that. Oh, that game was bad.
Yeah. It was so
that was
trash.
Like, even from I had no expectations of it going in. I had nothing, but it was glitchy. It was ugly. It was just all around just a disappointment.
It was so disappointment is exactly the right word, man. And unlike Chris, I went into it with a lot of expectations because I was a huge Age of Empires fan. I loved Age of Empires and still do. Still play Age of Empires. Played it just a couple months ago, actually. Or No, last year, I guess. No, we played a game with Caleb and Kyle and Ross.
Yeah.
You, Ross.
Yes.
Sorry.
Unless there's some other Ross that you're cheating on me with.
Yeah, so I was like, only
there's this
last
guy
year.
Charles.
So that was only like last year, 17 years later, and that game is still fun.
Yeah.
And so I was stoked to have this game come out. Because I'm like, dang, Age of Empires plus Star Wars, they have a baby. How can this go wrong? Apparently very much
like this.
so, yeah. And just so disappointing. It was an ugly baby, man.
Horrific mutations. We tossed it out. And
like the baby sister of a girl I used to date. It was an ugly baby. Tell you guys that story later. Oh man, it was just terrible. So bad. I don't even want to talk. It's a tier 3. I don't want to talk about this.
There's nothing more needs to be said. It's tier 3.
It's bottom of my tier 3.
Yeah.
I'm even putting it below my vast disappointment for the new Battlefront, just because I can acknowledge the things that the new Battlefront did well, namely looking pretty and being competent to add to their goals of screwing all the actual fans over. But.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, so last...
but not least.
Last and certainly not least. This is easily my number 2 game on here. It is the old Battlefront 1 and 2 from 2005 or 2004, yes, 2005.
The OG Battlefront.
Oh my gosh, what a great game. I can't even tell you the number of hours I have played this game.
Yeah.
Hundreds of hours into this game. Honestly, I mean, it came out in 2004... And we started playing it like pretty much immediately. At this point in 2018, I have probably put over 1,000 hours in this game. Like realistically,
dang,
it's a lot of hours.
I have not put that much in, but I do love it.
It's so good. It's solid gameplay.
Yeah.
Excellent replayability. Split screen, so you can play with your buddies. And at this point, now I play with my kids.
Yeah.
Super fun. The second one where you get to be the heroes. Darth Maul in the Polis Massa hallway. Ooh, play that for days. Chopping everybody in half. It's so good.
For me, the main thing that impresses me with this is it's another one where there's not really a story. Like, there is a single-player campaign, in air quotes, where it's basically just an excuse to string a bunch of missions together.
Which is all it is. Yeah. And they're the same maps that you play on.
Which is normally the sort of thing that pisses me off when I pick up a game and that's their excuse for a single-player campaign. But this game is solid fun.
So good.
It's a lot of
the
really
different
good
classes
times.
Feel and play very differently. So you do so if you are bored with one class, pick a different class for the next match, and you start to have a very different gameplay experience.
And you can even you pick it for the next life. You could pick
even the next life. It's just so good, and surprisingly stark improvement in the graphics between 1 and 2, even just a year apart. Number 2 looks significantly better than number 1. The maps, for the most part, were a lot better in number 2. But for me, the big part of number 2 is the much more fun in playing the heroes.
Yeah.
The heroes in number 2 are so much fun. And all of them are really fun. Whether it's the Emperor or Mace Windu or Aayla Secura or Boba Fett or Obi-Wan or Darth Maul, like General Grievous, like they're all really fun to play. The maps are fun and challenging, even when you know the maps. And I mean, because I could do almost all those maps in my sleep at this point.
Yeah.
Coruscant Jedi Temple. I could do that right now. Tell you exactly where to go and what to do. Still super fun. Still challenging enough. Can't say enough good about these games. Yeah. And I'm so glad that they are on the list of games that always get back supported. So like we just got an Xbox One and I was like, oh, so help me if these games aren't supported. We're gonna have to find a way to like life support this old Xbox 360 that's crapping out on us, because I don't want to not play these games.
Yep.
And then we checked, oh good, they're there. We just have to download a patch. Sweet, okay, we can do that. Awesome. Yep. So good. And again, they came out in 2004, 2005. It's 2018. I still love playing these games. Every couple of weeks, I'll sit down and play them with the twins. Super fun. The twins play them weekly. It's so great.
So, tier 1?
Yep. Tier 1.
Oh, tier 1 all the way. Ross, if it's not on tier 1, I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
This was tier 3.
Tier 3?
Tier 3.
Are you kidding me right now, Ross?
No, I'm dead serious if you want to see my list. Tier 3.
Are you... Who are you?
So...
And what have you done with my best friend?
Battlefront 1.
Oh my gosh.
I have more hours in Battlefront 1 than I do any other first-person shooter, probably combined. Okay? Was never a big FPS fan. Are you crying?
Ross? I don't know what to say right now. I am shocked you're putting this in tier 3.
So, I mean, gunplay was fine. Maps were interesting. Classes were good. But honestly, the replayability...
Oh, it's so good.
More so than other shooters for me, but not anything to write home about.
Oh my god.
I will say for me, the replayability depended on having people to play with.
Right.
Which is a large part of why it's up there for me, is because I was introduced to this game playing with you guys. But
we are fun to play with, let's be real.
Even I did buy a copy of it on Steam, where I had no friends to play with or anything, and I didn't care. I played it by myself, and I had a lot of good time. It did burn out for me faster, kind of like a real-time strategy does usually for me. But I get in the mood for it quicker than any RTS that I've played, so I still pick it up more often.
So with all those hours that I put into the first one, didn't feel the need to get the second one. Played it a couple times as we played it as groups.
Oh my goodness.
It just
wasn't
anything special to me.
So I want you to read off your tier 2s.
I was going to say, we should all just read off our lists real quick.
Well, mine aren't. Outside of like tier 1, I kind of stopped keeping track of the order that I was going to have them in. But I want you to say the tier 2 games that you think are better than these games.
Just give us all your tiers, Ross. We might as well. So we're wrapping up. That was our final one.
Oh my gosh. We may be looking for a new host for the next episode, co-host.
Well, we'll miss you, man. But
he said that looking at Kevin.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, I should have made that. Dang it. Just adequate, man.
Okay, so tier 1, starting from the top,
sure.
Best going to worst. Jedi Outcast / Academy, Empire at War, Dark Forces 2, and then Mysteries of the Sith, Knights of the Old Republic MMO, Force Commander. Tier 2, Angry Birds Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, Force Unleashed 2, Rogue Squadron.
You're
Super
telling
Star
me
Wars.
Angry Birds is a better game than Battlefront?
I would play Angry Birds before I would play the
Oh my
original
gosh.
Battlefront. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Ross?
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to get you for Christmas. A brain, okay?
Honestly, listener,
my gosh.
This is still a better reaction than I expected.
I cannot believe this.
Kyler suddenly went, oh, wait, I can ramp this up. Sweet.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, like,
I'm going to rage flip this table.
As the two of them were talking about the original Battlefront, I was sitting here like covering my mouth.
I was watching going, oh boy, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Ross is going to...
I thought Ross was just being polite.
I thought he was going to tier 2 this, but I thought...
Oh my gosh.
No.
Ross.
Did I finish tier 2?
Oh my gosh.
I don't think you did. Where were you?
So, I'll just go through tier 2 again. Angry Birds Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, Force Unleashed 1 and 2, Rogue Squadron, Super Star Wars, the X-Wing series, tier 3, the original Battlefront. So it makes the top of my tier 3 list. Come on.
That is still in tier 3, Ross.
It's also only one above the new Battlefront.
That's right.
Yeah, I know.
The Battlefront reboot comes
It should be
immediately after.
miles ahead.
That explains a lot more why you weren't that bothered by the Battlefront reboot, though.
Because I wasn't as
Oh
attached
my
to it.
gosh.
See, and that's the other conversation, is that expectations in gaming have run rampant.
Yeah.
So,
Unbelievable.
I mean, it's the same problem that everyone's having with Diablo Immortal this last couple of weeks. Anyway.
That was a
podcast.
marketing fiasco, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah, that was almost as bad as what Battlefront 2 did. Anyway.
It was delicious to watch.
So the two Battlefronts, original, then reboots, then Lego Star Wars, Republic Commando, Episode 1 Racer, and Battlegrounds.
I can't believe that. I can't believe that Angry Birds Star Wars.
It's a
tops
solid
Battlefront.
game, man.
It is, but not more solid than Battlefront.
I agree.
Are you kidding me
I
right
just
now?
happen to disagree.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Ross.
All right, Kyler, give us yours.
Oh my heavens. I'm so angry right now.
I feel like we need to end like Top Gear with and on that bombshell.
For real. Yeah. For real. Oh my gosh. Okay, so only my tier 1 is in like any sort of actual order of quality. Cool. So number 1, Empire at War. For me, there is no better Star Wars game. Battlefront, the old ones. In number 2, number 3, Force Unleashed. Number 4, KOTOR. Number 5, Super Star Wars. Number 6, Force Commander. At this point, they're just sort of all lumped together in Tier 2. Battlefront, the new ones. The Old Republic, Star Wars, the Racer one, all the X-Wing TIE Fighter games, Jedi Knight games, and then Republic Commando. Tier 3, Angry Birds, Star Wars Battlegrounds, which actually should probably be on the bottom of Tier 3 because I hate it so bad. Then there's like all the Dark Forces ones, Lego Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, and Rogue Squadron.
All right. No, you switched the Dark Forces.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Dark Forces, sorry, is Tier 2. It got switched out with all the X-Wing ones.
Right.
That's right.
You gave some impressive consideration to KOTOR and the new Battlefront there, just based on general reaction. That was thoughtful of you. Do you want to take that back now that Ross didn't like Battlefront?
Can I make a Tier 4 and stick Ross's stupid head in it?
Wow.
All right. My ranking that I ended up with after this is number 1, KOTOR, and its sequel despite its flaws, Jedi Outcast / Academy, the Dark Forces games, OG Battlefront, the FU games, and...
Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed, yes. And
I thought the FU games was the new Battlefront, because that was what EA must have had their files marked.
And then the X-Wing TIE Fighter games. My Tier 2 is Star Wars Pod Racer, Rogue Squadron, Angry Birds 2, Empire at War, the Lego ones, and Shadows of the Empire. And then my Tier 3 goes Republic Commando, Super Star Wars, Force Commander, the Old Republic, Mamorpurger, and... the new Battlefront and Battlegrounds. So, dear listeners, I will do my best to keep an eye on Ross, make sure he stays safe in the next few weeks.
Appreciate it, Chris.
We're going to have a fisticuffs after this.
Yeah.
That's not quite what I was worried about, but...
Oh my gosh.
I feel like it's going to be more of a pillow as I'm asleep.
Yeah, that's more
I do
what
know
I was...
where you sleep, so it's right over there.
Yep, you're not wrong. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Now that I'm all depressed, I have to try to do this funny
Maybe
outro.
it's more Kyler that I have to be worried about.
Yeah, maybe.
I just found out that my best friend can't be my best friend anymore.
I know. I'm going to throw myself off a bridge.
You were my brother, Ross!
Exactly! Yes!
Oh, man.
Oh.
Well, then you are lost!
Exactly. And then when Ross is like, what, you're not my friend anymore. And I'm like, you have done that yourself! Oh, shoot. Okay, well, since you people apparently love the episodes where we question the quality of Star Wars, just like I'm questioning my friendship with Ross, next week we're going to tackle Solo, a Star Wars story, and ask whether or not it was in fact good.
Side note, I'm calling it right now. I think that's going to be a recurring thing throughout the rest of the podcast. My comment on original Battlefront being Tier 3 and his hate for me now.
Yeah.
Quite possible.
Remember, Kyler, hate is to the path to the dark side.
Yeah, I know.
He's okay with that.
I need to get there so I can kill you, alright? Okay. Well,
you've heard it here first, folks.
Yep.
Yeah,
so if I
that is a confession right there.
Oh, man. As always, follow us on Twitter, and please, at More Civilized on Twitter. And please, for the love, people, join me in telling Ross how very wrong he is about placing Battlefront in Tier 3. You can't even look at Ross right now.
I'm going to laugh when instead we get a score of people telling us, oh, you guys are so hard on the
Then all of you are wrong.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I actually kind of do expect that. But whatever, we can argue about that on Twitter.
All right.
Please.
You're welcome to not have taste fans.
Yeah,
you're listening to us.
Yeah, clearly. Your taste is only adequate at best. So join our Facebook group as well, where we can more publicly and personally shame Ross. A More Civilized Podcast is the Facebook group.
You can speak with me directly and tell me how much you agree and how crazy these people are. On Twitter, at Mr_R*star.
As always, please let us know if there's any places you would like to see the podcast that you cannot find it at the moment, so we can get it available there for you. And please let us know if there's any topics that you're just dying to hear us argue about, or just talk about. Like we can talk, argue.
Tonight, Ross.
It's up to you.
You can't even get through the outro. Let it go, man.
This is gonna keep me up tonight.
I'm going to plug one more time the Deep Magic Best of Anthology that I read my story, The Wizard's Granddaughter. And join me in wishing Ross good luck and Kyler good luck. Let's see how this works.
The Wizard's granddaughter is really, truly fantastic. And I'm not just saying that, though. It really is incredible.
But this is from a guy who thinks the old Battlefront games are Tier 1 stuff, so...
So who thinks correctly is what you're saying. So don't get Ross to endorse it, because he clearly is a man of poor judgment.
All right. Man. Thank you for listening, our dear audience. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Always.
I'm Anna Graves, and thank you for listening to a more civilized podcast.
I am serious, Ross. I'm going to be laying in bed at like 11:30 tonight and just be going, I can't believe Ross thinks it's the Tier 3. Wait, I'm going to tell your wife on you.
Say that again. You're going to tell who?
I'm going to tell my wife on you, and I'm going to tell your wife on you.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to tattle on both of them. Or to both of them.
Okay. I'm also going to plug this at the end of the episode, just so you can listen for it. Silence for sound. Noise. Sound, noise.
Oh, wait, we were supposed to be about to.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
I get to listen to those again later. One of these days. You know, really, you've put me in a position of power. Because I can make you guys say anything I want you to say. Especially with how many words we've said that I now have physical record of.
All right, take us away, Kylie.
Oh, shoot.